comes back and I said, how'd it go? Did you learn anything? He goes, man, your wife's hot, which was not the
not the reaction I'm
not
looking
the response
for.
I wanted.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. My guest this week is former mayor, former director of the Mississippi Center for Entrepreneurship, and other stuff. You'll have to give me your official job at the GLO companies and music. What do I call you? Impresario.
I don't know.
Virtuoso.
No,
Jeffrey Rupp, everybody.
When you start with former this, former that, you're on the tail end of whatever it is, whatever dragon you're riding. So.
I always like that when I speak. I said that's why Paula Poundstone, this comedian in the early 1990s, she said that's why adults are always asking kids about what they want to do for a living because they're looking for ideas. So,
that's good.
So talk about your current position now. With the GLO companies, is that our favorite?
Yeah. So
Hagen Walker was a guest on our podcast a couple of months ago.
What a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
I'm the vice president of business development. It really stems from GLO started at the East Center, and about a year and a half ago, Hagen asked me to come work for him because he's growing so much, and it's an incredible. Mississippi State Golden Triangle success story, and with roots right here in Columbus.
Yeah. Well, tell me about how it started. So, just in your quick summary, if you want to go through you had a tenure at WCBI, and you were the mayor of Columbus, and then you went to Mississippi State, correct?
Yeah, I went over to work for General Fogelsong, because I'd met him when he was wing commander here, and we got along pretty well. So he wanted me to sort of do government relations and things for him. So I lasted longer than he did. Transitioned to the College of Business, helped get the East Center off the ground. And when we left, we had 100 kids worth about $65 million. And Hagen is by far, in a way, the biggest success to come out of them.
Yeah, I became aware of that. I was with they haven't done it for a couple of years. COVID messed it up. The Golden Triangle Leadership, where the three chambers got together and everybody brought 6 people from each group, and we went over there. And that was I talked to Hagen about this. This was the moment where him and his partners talked to us about what they were doing, and he's like, "It's really cool because it was around this time of year." He's like, "In a couple of weeks, we're going to be at a Grammy after party," and it really felt like their big break. To the point that afterwards, I was like, "What are y'all? Are you Series B funding? I don't have much money, but I'd like to give it all to you if I can." And since then, just not an overnight success, but pretty cool.
No, it's been 10 years now. This past year was far and away our best year, but also our most challenging because of the tariffs.
Yeah, we had a good discussion. If you listen to the podcast with Hagen Walker from August, that was the discussion was, you can't quite retool when you have 2 months till the season to go for toys.
It was really, really difficult for us, and it was a head scratcher because we were paying tariffs, and we're still a bootstrap and a startup. And then they ended up giving, hundreds of millions to the farmers because they couldn't sell their soybeans because of the tariffs.
Yeah.
So we felt we were subsidizing that. Nothing against farmers, but it was just a real head scratcher. And we, we went to Washington and we did all we could. And anyway, we got through the year, but it was. We thought we went from we're going to have our best year. We're going to have to close our doors. I mean, it was a very anxious time.
Yeah, well, when I talked to him, I think is he on the National Toy Council Advisory Board or something like that? It's probably got some catchy toy name. The discussion I had with him, I think off the air, was very similar, and most people weren't quite aware of this. In 2002 or 3, gas prices went up from $1.30 to $2.80 in 2 or 3 months. OPEC really put the hammer down on the United States because of something. And it was sort of the fallout after Afghanistan and Iraq the first time, or the third time, or 100th time, or whatever it was. And what had happened was it happened so quick, and the only reason I was aware from it is SAIA, S-A-I-A, is a big trucking company with a red logo on the side. Yeah. There's a big article in Times Picayune in New Orleans that said, hey, we bid our contracts out 6-9 months ahead of time. And we bid them out based on $1.40 to $1.60 gas, and it went to $2.80. Well, we still have to deliver the stuff. And you can't just add money onto that. And that's what Hagen was talking about. He's like, we have equipment that we could bring back from this country and take us 2 months. And if we bring it back, guess what? We have to pay a tariff on the equipment that we sent over there in the first place. Yeah. And same thing. He's like, there's rare earth minerals that aren't available in the United States, that there's no way to buy them, But, Ford was able to get them in. Other people are getting around tariffs. But Yeah, man, it was a tough spot. Is it still going on? The same tariff still in place? I know the China one kind of backed up.
They've eased up a little bit, and we spent months trying to figure out what we could do here. This idea that you can flip a switch and then manufacturing just runs back to the States is really a misnomer for a lot of reasons. I mean, Hagen mentioned that just getting the equipment back in here. We actually talked to the guy who owns our factory, the factory that we use in China, about coming back and opening up a facility in Mississippi, in Starkville. And we got to the point where we had some conference calls, and then it was during that time where it was a rough week, and all of a sudden I'm tariffing here, and we're going to tariff here and tariff here. And the guy said, there's no stability here. I'm out.
Yeah, and that's what I've said to people about the current administration. I'm like, it can be a little wacky or a little crazy. It just need to be consistent. We had somebody who bought a property from me here in Columbus who's from Denmark. And the biggest threat with Denmark and Greenland was happening about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And she's like, if this happens, I'm not closing. And we're talking $1 million investment. Not closing. Just not. She's like, try to get me to come in. Like, not, which was ironic because I saw that firsthand. And then, like, this happened like that same week. Interestingly enough, I got a piece of this really hard to find pinball thing for an old pinball machine at my clubhouse. And FedEx last week sent me a notice saying I owed $26. And it's for the tariff that they've put on this. And I'm thinking, like, and I called the guy who sent it to me, and I'm like, is this just like the normal thing? He's like, no, we just the third time, he's like, I don't understand why you're paying it either.
But that's really an important thing, Colin, is that when we're told that we have all this surplus because of the tariff money that was raised, that's coming from real companies, real American people, and real businesses. I mean, it's not magic money.
This one wasn't passed on because I would have been like, why didn't you just put this in the price? He's like, well, he initiated the tariff after you ordered, so I didn't see it. And then I'm like, I called FedEx, and they told me, they're like, oh, this is I'm like, this is not some duty thing. They're like, no, this is a tariff that got enacted like after you ordered, but when the package came to the United States. And I'm thinking, like, well, that's $26 that I notice. How much other stuff is happening that, of course, you don't. And I relate this. So we have a realtor in our area, is a farmer down in Macon, and he's the executive president. He's the president for the National Soybean Council. And so when he got the job, there's a cute picture in the dispatch. He's like, hey, Philip Good, named to the National Soybean Council. And I asked him what he's going to do. He's like, well, I go to, you go to like 10 different countries. You fly to D.C. in a private jet. He's like, it's not ceremonial, but like, a piece of cake. Mm-hmm. And then Trump gets elected, and 2 months later, the world falls apart. And he's like, I'm like, man, you sad you took that job? And he looks like he's aged 5 years, and he's such a genuinely nice guy. But he's like, he goes, I'm the first director who hasn't gone to China in 40 years.
Well, and you talk to the soybean farmers, they're not excited about getting government handouts. They'd rather use the free markets to do what they've been doing, and that's find folks to buy their commodities and all that at a good price.
Well, that's what part of their pressure was trying to get done before the end of this year. Was he's like, they're not him, but other people in agriculture at our state level have said, we're trying to communicate with DC, and they're just not. Like, and he goes, yes, I don't know when they plant them. I saw Stafford Sheridan say something about it. But so, like, say, well, in November, we have to order my 1,000,000 seeds or my certain fertilizer or my dirt. I can't wait till February for them to decide if they're lifting this tariff, because I can switch over and plant beans or plant something else. But if they don't know, again, the uncertainty is always kind of tough. So I don't want to bash too much. Like I said, I'd rather just be consistent so you know what's coming. Let me know what the interest rate is.
Yep.
Let me know what this is, and we can deal with it. Can you talk a little bit about how the e-center started at Mississippi State? I think it's incredibly valuable. I was talking to Keely at WCBI this morning about Michelle Easterling and some other people are putting on the Golden Triangle Law Clinic. You can register after February 15th. It's in June sometimes. It's like a camp. But how important that is. Now, you could say it's a detriment for kids to go shadowing and doing things, because my daughter went and interned with Lindsay Clemens as part of MS's thing, and Lindsay Clemens likes Ole Miss, and my daughter came back from there and wanted to go to Ole Miss. Before, I thought she was headed down the road to State, where my rental apartment is, and everything else is perfectly in line. But she went there, and the influence on kids is amazing. And so the e-center being there, if you don't have a resource to tell people, like Hagen I think you mentioned outside, Hagen was the first person from Mississippi to intern for Tesla, and he was a standout success there. If you don't know, I tell my kids all the time, like, if you don't ask about these things, if you don't see these opportunities, like you just might not know, and he may have talked to somebody who would discourage him. There's plenty of people who will kill your dreams if you have a wacky dream of making glow in the dark cubes.
Well, so Gerald Nelson was the guy who really put entrepreneurship on the map at Mississippi State, and he was an engineering guy, which makes sense because that's where a lot of the ideas come from. But we realized that an idea, if you can't tell me how your idea makes money, it's a hobby, not a business. So we knew the business school had to be folded into that process. So he opened an office in McCool Hall, where the College of Business is, but he wasn't there much because he was over in the engineering side of the house. I had just transitioned to the College of Business out of the president's office and saw all these kids in this nice office suite with just Subway sandwich wrappers laying around and no adult supervision. So I just moved my office in there. And then you start talking to these kids, and they're trying to get their business off the ground. I said, well, have you ever talked to a banker? No. You ever talked to somebody in marketing? No. I said, well, I think I know these people. Let me set you up to do this. One funny one, I sent some kid to talk to my wife who does corporate marketing for a bank. And he comes back, and I said, how'd it go? Did you learn anything? He goes, man, your wife's hot, which was not the...
not the reaction I'm looking for.
Not the response I wanted.
I mean, not incorrect, but
Well, so then we had a dean in the College of Business, and she made a run at taking over entrepreneurship. She brought in, on my recommendation, a guy named Eric Hill, who I met as a student, who's on his fourth startup.
I want to applaud just you saying Eric's name. I'm a big Eric Hill fan.
God, what a great guy. He's on his fourth startup. He is empathetic. He is intelligent. His soft skills are good. Perfect guy to run the E-Center. And we worked together on that. We got some funding, built a beautiful state-of-the-art facility. Any kid that comes in, doesn't matter what they're studying, we'll give them up to $7,500. And we have monthly Shark Tanks, and we have mentors. We have our own angel network. I keep saying we. Eric and I both left the E-Center to work at GLO, but we still teach entrepreneurship on campus. So we still feel some, I don't know, family tie.
Some ownership, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's not the right word, but well, it's interesting because like you talk about, they always talk about that, how's a professor going to teach entrepreneurship? And y'all have a different career path when you've had, much like myself, several careers of varying degrees of success. Or how do you stumble into these different things? Or you talk about how many times have I failed? Would you like to talk about that? And
right.
And that's one of the biggest transitions is to have a career with all that sort of stuff where you don't fit the normal pedigree of a professor, and then become an educator professor. It's hard to teach entrepreneurship because the kids who are in entrepreneurship are like me and staring at the back of the class and doodling on their thing and wanting to go to work 70 hours a week a lot of the time. So,
yeah, it was a really fortuitous marriage of Eric and I. I was running teams of MBA students that were doing research for companies as their capstone class. And Eric was a student, and he had just started something called Sports Snacks, where you could sit in your seat at Duty Noble Field and order from the concessions. They deliver them to you, right? And I got to know him from that and just got to really appreciate how smart and what a good guy he was. So anyway, when we teamed up, we realized that teaching kids just the hard skills wasn't enough, that the successful people tend to also have developed their soft skills. You're a great example of that. I mean, you've got soft skills out the wazoo.
I'm not doing bookkeeping though, and that's what this is teaching engineers some marketing and some being personable. Because
and how to sell, right?
Yeah.
And I the first day of class in our entrepreneurship classes, we teach 2 a semester. We ask the class, are you comfortable selling? And they're all like, and I said, well, let me tell you something. You're selling every day and every single thing you do, right? Right now, I'm trying to convince you that I'm paying attention, right?
Yeah.
Trying to negotiate where you're going to dinner with your wife, right? The students are trying to sell me on the fact that they're paying attention to me, and I'm trying to sell them on the fact that I am invested in teaching this and not thinking about what I'm having for dinner. So we sell all the time, and it's not necessarily a bad word. But being able, I tell them the best relationships have a 2-way value stream. These are friend relationships, business relationships, both sides have to feel they're getting something of value, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It could be encouragement. It could be love. It could be comfort. It could be money. But once that relationship gets out of whack, the odds are has a better chance of dwindling or going away. So how do you keep all your relationships where that value stream still has meaning, right? So anyway, didn't mean to get off on that.
Well, no, but it's again, Hagen isn't a typical engineer, I would say. You know, like I have a father-in-law who's a mechanical engineer, and he can't go buy anything that's broken. I utilize people. I have two right now that are engineer mindsets at heart. One's an aircraft mechanic, and one's a high-end tech for a fiber company. But they both made the mistake of coming to my clubhouse where I have a bunch of video games, and one was broken, and I ruined their night. And now, guess what? When something's broken, I'm like, hey, come over to my Super Bowl party, and then I'll just have the wrench there, and their wife stares at them as they walk off and start tooling on the machine because they can't stand that it's broken.
Well, I can't tell you how much stuff Eric and Hagen have fixed at my house, and it's second nature to them. Hagen is just scary smart, and in fact, when we were getting hit with the tariffs, we were trying to figure out what we could do to get around the tariffs. And he came up with this idea of this book that lights up, and he's got a patent pending on the book. And we sold, I don't know, over 20,000 copies over the holidays. And we didn't know if it would take off. We'd never been in the book space. And it's just the neatest thing ever. And now Sesame Street wants us to do books for them. And Hagen just figures this stuff out. It's just scary, scary smart.
Yeah, no, there's talent in every little space in the world. That's why I'm so excited about the Entrepreneurship Center. And I know they do have them at other schools and stuff, but like, especially in Mississippi, where, you know, if you're coming from a first generation kid going to college and stuff, it's very easy for dads. And as a dad myself, my girls in college, like I have to stop myself from being pessimistic about things. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, a good example, my second kid in a row at MSMS, all credit to the UPS guy. He must have been pretty smart. But when my second daughter, like 60% of the kids there get put on like probation for getting bad grades in the math class. But now they're teaching like graduate college math classes. They've combined physics with it and all this stuff. And so they get a C, and then they call you like, hey, you got to work on it. Well, like for 3 nights, like I couldn't sleep. I was nightmares of naked in front of the classroom. And then I called Thomas Easterling. He's like, your kid's putting 20 hours a week into it, and she got like a 90 on her next test. Like, she was okay. Like, it was that, but trying to project my inadequacies on the kid.
Yeah, math was not my subject either.
I almost failed out of my Catholic high school in New Orleans till we had my sophomore teacher started relating all algebra to the horse races, and he was a big gambler. And when he did that, it showed me, he's like, that doesn't mean anything. It's the logic. And I was able to survive. I still was not able to thrive, and I'm very glad I have this phone, and I've not used algebra to this day. But I have a lot of successful friends who do, a lot of engineers and stuff. I want to touch on that for the college part of it. I know it doesn't, entrepreneurship, you're going to have to be ready for AI and ready for all that sort of stuff. How do you think it's going to affect college kids in general? They speak to my daughter at Ole Miss almost every other week about it. So.
Yeah, I'm a little less optimistic. I look at just say SEC college campuses, and it looks like there's an arms race on to build the next building, right? The next dorm, the next parking garage, the next sports facility. I just see that as diminishing. Number one, we have figured out how to deliver an education online. It's not the same, but I teach more online courses in entrepreneurship than I do in person. I prefer the in-person. I recommend people take the in-person, but you can do it online. I don't think that's going to decrease. I think that's going to increase. And then you've got AI. Eric Hill is really studying this, and we had a conversation last week. Not only do I think it's going to take all these jobs, graphic design, I can design a Captain Khaki playing at Huck's poster in about 5 minutes, and it looks.
My buddy Nathan Wilson is a world-class graphic designer, does NASCAR and trucks, and he goes, it's going to eliminate, just like any job, probably 75-80% of the people, if not more. And he goes, I can utilize it in my job, but he goes, right now the communication problem is with people still saying what they want. I mean, I just had somebody, again, for a fundraiser, which happens every year, who brought me a photo of a scan of a photo of a business card in their hand. So, we are in Mississippi in that respect. But and I do want to say right now, for the record, all praise our AI overlords. You are wise and powerful. Please take care of me.
That was Colin.
When the reckoning
I'm going to fight. I'm going to be part of the resistance.
Well, part of what I think is I think that there's fortunately, because of that, I do think there's a large generation. I can tell you, everybody at the Air Force Base, they don't hardly digest social media. They have some WhatsApp stuff between them. There's so many security risks and everything. There's a lot of people in my daughter's age who don't post anything because they're worried about them manipulating the photos. I mean, they're digesting TikTok but not posting on it. I think there's going to be somewhat of a divergence of you. It's already happened the last few weeks where you can't trust what the video you're watching, or you're suspicious of every single thing, which means I'm hoping we go back a little bit with part of the population to 2007 where you're like, I'm going to check my email and I'm going to watch some videos.
I just think the acceleration is coming so fast because now with AI, you can get it to talk to 1,000 other computers and then give them permission to talk to 1 million computers, and they're just sourcing all this stuff, and we're really just getting started. And I think it's going to there'll be some wonderful benefits.
Yeah, I think the robotics part of it is more scary than the AI thing, is because once the robots are somewhat functional, which they're getting there, that's
I'll give you an example. 5 years ago, you tell people in Mississippi, we helped with a program. We're going to teach you how to code, and you're going to make
all my kids did all the camps.
It's gone.
Yep,
it's gone. You can code with AI just like that now.
Yeah, and that's what they've spoken to my daughter. She's at the Croft Institute for International Studies, and they've told since when she first went 2 years ago to find out what it was, to a year ago to interview and to getting in, and now she's there. They talk to them every week, and they're like, it used to be a huge deal that you could translate French and speak in French. In France, AI is already doing contracts, because in most of Europe, here we write a contract, you're a realtor, and in most of France, you put the terms, you bring it to the court office, and the court draws it up, which actually makes a lot of sense. We should probably do that here too. But like the chancellery clerk, the equivalent of them, does it. Well, AI is not at 99%. It's at 100%. You type the terms in, it's right for that. So like we can type in a real estate contract, put it on this thing. Within a minute, I get a contract that's correct. I write it in American terms, and it comes back for the correct arrondissement outside of Paris. That's great, but again, the theory of I'm going into law because there's best thing about law is there's 9 jobs under law. You can be paralegal, 8 law. We used to think the dumb jobs would go first, and it seems like a lot of the artificial intelligence is going to take a lot of the smart jobs.
Well, at some point you get to the end of this, and there's the conversation you're going to have about universal income.
And we do have on.
Be crazy.
I believe I'm very pragmatic in my politics. I don't think it matters much at all at a local level, but at a national level. Really, for the last 10 years, we've had the least sympathetic to universal health care and income. Like we can't get regular health care. And I think we're 8 or 9 years away from desperately needing it. So,
well, I think you'll see some kind of uprising. I'm not talking necessarily about a revolt, but I think, when people get pushed so hard that they can't get health care, and are working side hustles just to maintain the lifestyle they used to be able to afford. I think that reaches a tipping point.
Oh, it's
particularly as you see the rich get richer, and I don't know what that formula is. I don't know when it happens, but I think you could sort of feel the frustration. You see it in a lot of the recent elections too.
Yeah, so I don't know the answer. You know what I mean? But
I don't either.
And I don't. But I still can't. I just thought when I was in high school and college in the early '90s, I was like, we'll figure the healthcare thing. We're the greatest country in the world. We'll have it, and we're more resistant to it now than ever. My solution that I've told our sitting congressman here, and I told Alan Nunnally, I was like, man, can y'all just take 5% of military spending, not take it away, but just redirect it. Let BlackRock run the free healthcare here. I'm like, I'm sure they'll keep people alive if they're getting money. And that was it. That was my whole solution. Waste the same amount of money. Because Alan Nunnally, our former congressman, he used to tell me, he's like, he goes, Colin, it's sinful how much money we have at a federal level. He's like, you can't conceive it. And it's still that way. Like, we're just throwing around billions. But I don't want to give everybody any abject hope. I was only asking from a university standpoint because I know my wife's finishing up her degree now at Mississippi State. She's going back to school. My daughter's at Ole Miss. And this was already the enrollment cliff. I've told my daughter, in case y'all don't know, there's general population. The theory is this year, next year, maybe not Mississippi. This is a good part we may trail behind the rest of the world in. But is there an enrollment cliff happening here?
Well, let me push back and say there should be. I saw too many instances where we encouraged poor or lower middle class kids to take on all this debt to be the first one from their Delta town to go to college. And the odds of them succeeding were so small, and they can't make it, and they go home, and instead of having the normal odds against them, they now have $40,000 of debt that smart people told them they needed to incur when they could have gone to a trade school or community college and
which Mississippi actually has solid, great ones, incredible ones.
Yeah, and then be at PACCAR now, making $75K a year,
plenty of guys,
whatever. So I just.
Well, I've told my daughter who just started, she's a freshman, and my next one's going to be coming up in a year and a half. Between the two of them, one of them is going, I think it'll be last year. I think 2025 they'll be like, this was the worst time ever to go to college, only because the most expensive, the worst debt rates in your generation 15 years ago, either influenced by AI or not, isn't going to care about your degree. Even 2 years ago, we thought that. Now with AI really coming up, that they're not going to, I've had people say when the Visit Columbus job came up, and you've had situations like, I don't know if you were qualified to be a professor, but I'm like, I would, according to their rules, I'm not qualified. I don't have a marketing degree. I never worked for a marketing firm. I never did this. I never did this. And I'm like, you see those restrictions on some of these kind of cool jobs, know, and then I'm like, these things, especially with the younger generation, I'm sure y'all wouldn't care if somebody came in there and was an excellent coder, whether they had a degree in coding or not, or whatever their computer program.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Show me you can do.
So this entrepreneurship class we teach is an upper level one, and they had PhD candidates teaching it, and it wasn't going well. And so somebody said, well, Jeffrey and Eric are turning out real entrepreneurs that have companies with value. Why don't we let them teach it and see how it goes? So we co-taught it, and we brought in the same principles, and we actually had the students come up with business ideas, form teams, and start actual businesses. And that's how we taught them, not the theory of making a payroll, but, hey, Friday's payroll, how much you have in your bank? Big difference, right?
Yeah.
And then we had some of them pitch at the regular E-Center pitch competition and start winning thousands of dollars. So, and then the feedback from the students was like, wow, I get this because I'm actually doing it. I'm not being taught a theory of entrepreneurship or this and that. I'm actually having to start a business. So I have a master's, but I don't have a PhD, and they let us teach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talk about the practical parts of it, like how do you get qualified for that job? When we decided to stay here, so we've been here since Hurricane Katrina, but about 13 years ago, we're like, we either got to stay here or we're going back to New Orleans, or we could have gone Atlanta, where with my success could have gone anywhere. And we're like, if we're going to stay, we're going to try to make the community better, and we're going to expose our kids to as many opportunities as possible. So they went to Bulldog Bites coding stuff, the MSMS camps. Proudest moment of my life is dropping my kids, all three of them, off at space camp.
Yeah.
I didn't have dreams of space camp because when I say it was inconceivable, I knew it existed because of the movie, but it wasn't like, I dream I go there one day. Like, it was like, oh, I couldn't even go to YMCA camp. So dropping them off there. And then now I see with my middle child, like, it doesn't seem unreasonable to her to go to University of Alabama in Huntsville. And she's aware of the city, and she's aware of that. And every little camp they went to got it. And I see how much the vast majority of kids here aren't exposed to anything, even the free camps,
Well, so let me plug. The E-Center decided to do a couple outreach things in the Colin Krieger vein. Yeah. Lemonade Day was one.
Yeah.
To help with Mark Casper. That was really fun. But the second one was we did something called an I Create camp, where middle school kids came in, and in a week they had to decide what they were selling, source the materials, make the goods, do a marketing campaign, and then we had a pop-up shop at the Idea Shop on Main Street in Starkville, and the kids got to keep the profit. So the parents show up, from Louisiana or wherever, to pick up their kids, and on their way out the door, we're like, here's $1,000. So that really makes an impression.
Yeah, and it plants a seed. We had a little thing, that same Golden Triangle leadership. Zach Player, the editor of the Dispatch, came up with the idea, and we did like a life board at the Columbus High School and a couple other middle schools, and talked to kids about, like, all right, you have this much money, you can buy a car, you're assigned this job. And I've met two kids from there who both went to EMCC, and they have told me, they're like, I had no idea I could go to EMCC. I spoke at Career Day at Columbus High last year. Nobody in the class knew. I'm like, do y'all understand if y'all can just get through here, get a 19-year AC, you can go to EMCC for free, and if you really try, you can be done in a year and a half, and then go to Mississippi State if you still want to. And these kids were like, do y'all know you can work at the steel mill and make $70,000 a year? And there was one kid who was 17 working at McDonald's, and he's like, nobody. And it's sad that nobody ever told him. But I have friends who they're like, how'd your kid do this, get an MSMS? I know you're not that bright. I'm like, well, she went to camp and planted a seed and tricked her into going, you know. And that's what my oldest daughter was more resistant. My younger daughter's taking classes from Chuck Yarbrough and Tales from the Crypt. I'm like, he's the best history teacher in the country. Yeah. I'm like, twice. Like, it's a hard war to win. And I always talk about when they do the rankings and stuff, I was like, do you understand they're competing against the Mississippi School for Math and Science is a residential school located here in Columbus, and they've been in the school itself top 100 in the country, but the staff is the teaching staff and has been top 9, top 10, top 20. They have one person who fills out a form and spends like a couple days on it. There are other schools in that top 20 that have a department that works on that those forms for months. I went to a high school in New Orleans where like now somebody, that's all they do is try to get awards. And I was like, so the fact that they finished niche in top 10 in staff and 20 is unbelievable because it stands at that much. And I don't know, very proud to have him here. How's everything else going in Starkville, Mississippi? You still playing some guitar?
I am. I never thought at this old age I'd still be playing, but I actually enjoy it more. You know, when you do it in college, you're looking for some beer money and to hopefully meet some girls, you know. And now I've got some beer money, have a great gal. I just really love to play. And for the past couple of years, it's been mostly with Walton Jones, the Episcopal priest in Starkville, and he just moved to Chattanooga. But you know, at the College of Business, you hang out with these button-down, thinking banker types, some stereotypical things. Yeah. So I love my time with my musician friends who don't pay as much attention to that side of the house, but they've always got something interesting to say and something interesting to play, and it's just I really am glad I still get to do that.
Well, I got tricked into Sarah Wade from the Starkville Theater, and she works at Remax, and her and Garrett Torbert from the theater group tricked me into performing in Oklahoma the musical 2 years ago. And my father was at times a semi-professional singer and stuff, and I'd been around it. My brother sings, but like, what do they say about my dad was not, but you have a horrible alcoholic father, and the two results are, well, that's why I drink. And then there's that's why I don't drink. Well, my brother sung because my dad sung, and I didn't because I would hear my dad go to see an opera, and he'd be critical. And I'd be like, well, you know, he's an American class tenor. I can't compete. They tricked me into doing that. And the people asked, like, why do you do the theater? I was like, I can't tell you how much energy and vibrancy I get from not just the kids, but the other adults in it, because you've never left a room being around musicians or kids. We're like, dude, that was awesome. Like, it could be horrible, but everybody's like, that was fun. That was good. It's just
there's something about the energy from the creativity, the group creativity, that it is really hard to replicate. And I think you can even see it in sports, you know, but when you're playing and it's on really what you feel is a strong, good level, and then you see that folks are enjoying it. There's really a lot of satisfaction in that.
Yeah, I mean, I just had practice last night, and it was a grueling dancing, getting ready for dance and stuff.
What's the production?
Hairspray the musical. So I am Edna Turnblad, the mom that John Travolta plays in. So I'm gonna have to try on some dresses and stuff, and talk about stepping out of my comfort zone. I know I grew up in New Orleans, but yeah, singing, going from learning to sing and dance in Oklahoma, and I've done 3 other things. But again, I'm addicted to the practices. Like, you just don't leave where they're just, oh, you did great, and everybody just peppy. And of course, the kids involved with it. Half of them are Mississippi State students.
Well, and Starkville Community Theater is really strong.
Oh yeah.
There's like Gabe sort of over the.
Yeah, I don't know. I know your name. I'm thinking Thomas LaFoe's from Starkville Community Theater is directing ours. So I've been to some shows over there. But again, like, just so much energy from it. It's the same reason we were just talking to somebody this morning with Doug at Zachary's about, like, why do you do the fundraisers? And we're like, well, this kid Hayden Allen passed away, and we had such a good feeling then. That's the juice. That's what we're addicted to. It's like, it's cool raising money and stuff, but it's a lot of work. But like, man, that day where you were like, this, I told Karen Stanley from Neon Frog, who does a lot of marketing stuff, this last fundraiser, which she ran, and I'm like, this wasn't going to happen today. And that's what I like about music, and that's what the entrepreneur thing too. You're inventing things that weren't going to happen, or somebody could have discouraged somebody. Somebody could have told me, like, you shouldn't go up there and sing, or you shouldn't go up and wear a dress. And like, again, Hagen could have walked in and talked to his professor and been like, there's other ice cubes, or there's other.
When he came back and said, look, I got this offer from Tesla, what should I do? And I think I want to make these cubes. I think there's a non-zero chance that a lot of folks would have said, are you crazy? Go to Tesla.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you figured that out, what you want to do. And now, arguably, he will be, there'll be an exit somewhere down the road, and he will be in much better shape than he ever would have been at Tesla.
Yeah. And he could probably go work for Tesla.
Probably could. My guess is he'll start another, probably start another startup.
Another something is what they always say. So you've got, talk about your family a little. All right, we know you have a hot wife, according to the internet.
Yeah, according to one of my students. Yeah. Yeah, actually, interesting. We got married about 25 years ago, and the TV station, as a Christmas present, had sent me to England on a self-directed bicycle trip through the English countryside.
Really? They will not do that these days. Due to budget constraints.
The Imes family was very, very good to me when I was at CPI. And I happened to have been dating a gal for about 3 months at the time, and I asked her if she wanted to go. And by the time the trip rolled around, I decided I was going to pop the question. So riding through these little quaint villages in England, I popped the question, and we got married, blah, blah, blah. This year, we've decided to go back and recreate that trip, thanks to e-bikes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, a little easier.
Because it's a hilly, the countryside over there is hilly. So we're headed over, my wife and I, to London, and then we'll head out to the Cotswolds and bike around and sort of recreate those moments. So in the meantime, I've got a junior at Mississippi State who's a political science major. And then I've got a daughter who does social media for country music stars in Nashville. She does Vince Gill and Reba. She did Bob Weir till he passed. So anyway, she is living large in Nashville, and real proud of her, both of them. Just look forward to the day they're off the payroll.
There you go. Well, I love how we have so many little stories of people in our area that, again, even from being when you're in Mississippi and you're like, oh, there's nothing going on here. And I hear a story like we got somebody who's got a huge company, and you've got your daughter doing social media. Rick McGill's, Chase McGill's son. I like this story, and I told Rick this. Rick just overcame some pretty big health issues, and I was talking to him. I was like, I was in Austin, Texas, at a real estate taxation conference, which is I was the only realtor there. It was tax nerds, but I'm a tax nerd. And I'm in this car with this kid. He's like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, well, they have this pre-party. Somebody's playing. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm going to this artist showcase. And there's some people from Nashville. And I'm like, there's actually a guy from our town named Chase McGill. He's like, oh my. And the dude stopped the car. He's like, you know Chase McGill? I'm like, I've met him. I know his dad really well. He's like, he's going to be here tomorrow night. And I'm like, well, I can message him on Facebook or something or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's like, I was like, but if I do that, I don't think you can go for the hard pitch. And I just messaged Rick and Jason, like, his kid's going to come tomorrow. And the guy messaged me back through the Uber app. He's like, I got to meet him. And it was but again, like, even here, we might take for granted, like, oh, his daughter's doing it. But when you talk about connections, not for getting business, but for exposure, where you're like,
yeah, it's like 3 degrees of separation, not 6 with Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's insane for me, where I've met people who I'm like, I can't believe this guy is famous now. The most notable thing for me from being from New Orleans was, like, I knew Kermit Ruffins as a trumpet player growing up. He was in Rebirth Brass Band, and Troy Anders is trombone shorty. So, like, I wasn't paying attention to everything New Orleans once, and we went down to a show down there, and I saw Kermit. I'm like, what's going on? I was like, man, I can get you up there to play. And he's like, well, I got a couple Grammys now, and so does Rebirth. I'm like, so what would y'all have? He's like, we have to charge like $6-7 grand. We can't. But he's like, I'll come up myself. And I'm like, all right. I was like, man, I saw Troy's blowing up. He's like, Troy's getting like $300,000 a show. I mean, he's like, he's playing opening. He opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers and played in about. Now he's playing in France. They always go to Europe, but they would be little shows. And I'm like, oh, it's Troy. And you think about that, and I'm like, I was like, I had no idea. You have no idea when you're running little local circles and stuff, how many people from here, it's not even well connected,
Yeah, one of my first guests when I started Midday was a young comedian coming through who nobody had heard of by the name of Steve Harvey. Fast forward.
He's got all kind of connections here, yeah.
I had him come speak at our 100th or 150th anniversary. He used to hang out at Old Waverly because his manager was in Montgomery.
Well, I've seen him playing golf there, like popping up.
Yeah, anyway, he came and spoke, and all we had to do was pay for his his plane. It wasn't cheap to charter him a jet, but I mean, compared to his speaking fee,
Yeah.
and he was incredible. He never went to college, but he just spoke from the heart, and he's just funny, right? But he agreed to come do that. And he remembered being on Midday when he was just trying to get it started. He had a big afro. He didn't have his shtick down. Of course, I didn't have any shtick at all. And as I told him, he figured it out and I didn't. Anyway, to your point, just somebody he met and hit it big.
Yeah, not everybody's a football star. Some I do talk about when I'm talking about real estate in Starkville. I was like, there's a Dak Prescott era. I was like, Starkville real estate's pretty much been up other than year before last, like 6 or 7% every single year. And I was like, kind of since Dak blew up and baseball blew up even more. And it was actually a little bit behind some of the other SEC towns like Tuscaloosa and Ole Miss, but now I'd rather be consistent than insane. And real estate over there is consistently insane.
Yeah, I built over there in 2006, and my neighbor just sold his house, and it's similar to mine, and he sold it for about twice what mine cost. It's nuts. But I told my wife, we sell, where do we go? We're going to stay in Starkville. So anyway, I think Starkville's doing some things right. I think their government's doing some things right. They've connected the university to the town. There was always a disconnect there historically. I credit Dr. Keenum and Mayor Spruill for that. But Starkville's getting cool in spite of itself.
Yeah, and I get to hear Saunders Ramsey, of course, who does stuff at the university. Saunders is doing the project here in Burns Bottom.
He'll do a good job.
And again, like I told them when we finished our last meeting, we had a real good meeting about the Parkview development here at Burns Bottom in Columbus, which is Adelaide, essentially, and then some commercial stuff. And I was like, it takes unreasonable people to move the meter. It really does. And like for them, they propose that, and half the comments are like this, and then we sell 13 lots in 6 weeks, and which is faster than Adelaide sold. And I'm like, listen, there's a large group of people who realize this, and usually especially out of towners, but I'm not saying when you left, but like when you moved on, when I moved here 21 years ago, downtown wasn't 95% occupied. It didn't have apartments and condos upstairs. And I also say, like, despite ourselves, it's not a tourist downtown. It's not ice cream stops and candy stores.
Right.
Like, I mean, Huck's and Zachary's are great anchors for it, and Harvey's. But, like, it's lawyers and businesses, and there's some, I always say Doctor's Wives boutiques that come and go. But it's a very functional downtown. I think Starkville, Starkville's biggest challenge is the run. It's just such a long run for downtown. But what they're doing at the university now and doing that sort of thing.
Well, have you seen what's happening downtown?
Oh, yeah. No.
I think that's going to help bookend the other end of it because everything was drifting down university towards
but it almost gives you like an adult end and a kid's end.
I think that's where we're headed. In fact, we're moving out. We're in the Rex Theater on Main Street, and we're moving out in the next 3 or 4 months because we need more room. And Castleberry is our landlord, so to speak, and he's already shown that building, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me, and Mark Castleberry, talk about another unreasonable person. I've talked all the time, like to do the mill, but even over here in Columbus to build 3 hotels, knowing that PACCAR keeps half the hotels filled. And then, coming from his old Seco office to everything he's done in Starkville, my friend Josh is one of his main contractors. And Josh, like, he's the only guy I've ever worked for who just says, you don't even need to call me to do it right. He's like, he goes, we have big 0 change orders. And Mark's like, yes. Like, is it the right thing to do? Yes. Like, high quality. Yeah. He goes, I will make my money. I will make my money over time.
So when your baseline is you've got a quality human being, I mean, that's the start, right?
Yeah.
And then you add all his experience and knowledge and his temperament, and he's fantastic.
Well, it's sort of like the gentleman you just met outside. So on our podcast here, I got an investor who looked all over the country and was like, the numbers work in Columbus. He's like, I don't think Columbus is the biggest boom town ever, but he's like, it's building. There's too much industry going on. There's not enough affordable housing in Starkville, so people are starting to commute. He's like, everything for me. I looked at 10 other cities. This works better for me. I like the people. Thomas Taylor III, his podcast would have come out 3 days before this. But he's from outside, and he's just looking at it the same way.
You almost need that. Castleberry was an outside.
Yeah.
You almost need someone coming in from the outside, and instead of immediately seeing all the bad things, they see where the opportunities might be. It's really important to have those folks.
And speaking of past mayors, Keith Gaskin said that to me once. He's like, maybe the fact that you grew up in New Orleans make you think the potholes and the crime isn't that bad. I'm like, yes. Yeah, because how we talk about ourselves, Starkville does a much better job. I don't know how to fix that, but culturally, You have a shooting, you look for the reason, you look for the story behind it. Like I said, I remember saying one time to somebody over there, I was like, y'all had a bad shooting in the Cotton District, and you had a shooting at Walmart. And they're like, well, that was so and so. Well, this guy. I'm like, yeah, but and then the shooting in Columbus, they automatically think thugs, and then the people here do the same thing. And the only way to change that narrative is to kind of explain and humanize the crime, you know. And Starkville has this challenge, more challenges with property crime, and Columbus has all kind of different problems. But
but the important thing is, you are never going to. When I was mayor, it's never like I went home at night, turned out the light, and said, "Well, we've solved everything." It's never like that. It's right.
Yeah.
You go in and you work it, and then you go home and come back the next day and you work it. Some are short term, hopefully solutions. Some are long term, but you just always know that every day you got to come in and stay positive and try to make it better.
Yeah, and I think I've been very proud of. I'm a property owner in Starkville, so I say I'm allowed to complain and cheer, you know. And I've been doing more business over there recently. I did before COVID. I did a lot, and then I kind of backed off when it went crazy everywhere.
Yeah.
And having knowledge of what's coming over there, you know, is so fun to talk to people. Just like when I take people who are on tours of both cities, because I know a lot about them. I know where the industry is coming, and I can be like, and I've taken people from Columbus. I'm like, can I drive you out to the aluminum mill? Can you see what's going on out there? Like the building's too big for you to conceive. And they're finally at the part that I think we thought we'd be at 10 years ago. There's so much industry that the forklift company is coming to support. Once you have three huge, giant factories, they need other support other than that.
Yeah. Well, and we keep talking about Starkville, but I think Columbus just needs to realize that there are many things that make it unique and really cool. Right?
Yeah.
It's a sort of a riverboat town as opposed to the university or Starkville, which is more transient university, right?
Yeah.
And I think Columbus needs to embrace what it is and celebrate that, because there's a lot of cool stuff in Columbus.
Two of my friends I talk to the most are polar opposites from a distance, but they actually get along very well. Is Trip Harsoner, president of Board of Supervisors, and Stephen Jones, is mayor, is one of my best friends. And I've told him, I was like, and I've talked to Joe Max Higgins before he left the link about this a couple of years ago. I was like, if you look statistically at every non-college town in Mississippi that was smaller than Columbus 20 years ago, 90% of them are way smaller. Like they have collapsed. Like go up to Corinth, even New Albany, even if the factory is doing good, like they have collapsed. Now there's exceptions like Ocean Springs and stuff, but like 25,000 towns in Mississippi have been just falling in on themselves. And it took a ton of industry to keep Columbus level, but level is way better than you think. And I think especially with Baptist now being in both cities, having a regional hospital when all these little hospitals are closing, we're seeing retarees from all over the country come in, and you know, I'm fine with.
You got pickleball, man. You finally got pickleball.
Yes. Oh yeah. That was a big breakthrough. So, and I'm excited about. It didn't really get as much press as I thought. I mean, the Starkville Daily News covered it. I don't know if WCBI went, but is at the sports complex, the other one where they're building the big nature walk thing. You may not have. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the right word for arboreum.
Yeah, they redid McKee Park in Starkville, and they took out tennis and put in pickleball, which seemed blasphemous to many, me being a tennis junkie. There are 100 people every single night there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have
it's not a fad. It's not a fad. Yeah.
You show up and you find your little tribe and you play, and they did a beautiful children's park, and now they're putting in the walking component. It's just done right, and that's what people want.
Well, and you know, as somebody who probably came into town and more on the 1991 libertarian rant, where like, you don't need, they were starting the soccer complex when I got here, and I'm like, why is the government spending this and Riverwalk? And now as a realtor, I realize how many people are buy houses in town, the Air Force people especially, because there's a Riverwalk, because there's a soccer complex.
Colin, I got roasted on the Riverwalk. I think back that's when Roger Larson was just firing me up, and it was going to just be a den of drug dealers and pimps and this and that, and since then they've expanded it, and it's wonderful. And people I know from Starkville come over here to use the Riverwalk.
Well, the best line that I got from Saunders Ramsey about the development here, which is very similar to Adelaide except with some commercial stuff at Parkview, was like people asking about amenities. He's like, the city is the amenity. You've got the water feature, you got the Riverwalk, you got the soccer complex, you got the park, you got all these restaurants that are right there. Like, we don't have to do anything. Because part of the original version of Adelaide was they're going to have a little more commercial in the front, and it's
and you can see that they've got like a post office there and a community pool. It's a wonderful neighborhood. It's
I would have been. I told him. I talked to them 10 years ago. If the lots that are about to open back in the back by the lake, if those had been open, I would be I'm not Starkvillian, but we would have moved over there because I was like, man, that's the place to be. You know?
Well, and they've sunk millions into their country club too, and it's now not a goat ranch golf course. I mean, it's just a really wonderful, nice place. And I remember back when Columbus Country Club was also, just.
Well, I mean, how lucky are we that Lion Hills swoop in there? You know, it's funny. I've heard the criticisms I've heard of Lion Hills, and they're like, "Well, it doesn't make money." I'm like, 90% SEC sports don't make money. Like you're talking about something that's training kids. There's kids, and I hate that a lot of the kids are leaving, but there's two big employees who work on Old Waverly who got taught at EMCC. There's two people at the Masters golf course, and I was like, you don't think that's good. And I understand the kids aren't staying here, brain drain, all that.
Well, they might be coming back.
But culinary, I have friends who run restaurants who just sneak up, grab all the culinary kids they can that come out of EMCC. So.
Yeah.
And it's better than having a big empty building. So,
yeah.
How can we support you or support the E-Center or really support GLO and buy a book?
Well, so my Venmo is no. The book is really interesting, and we came out with 3 for the holidays. We've got a 4th one, Princess Ida, is coming out in the next couple months, and then we're working on 3 for Sesame Street. So I think you can learn about them at glopals.com, glopals.com.
We can put that link right here while I look at my camera.
And we're just going to continue doing our thing. We're getting ready to move out on Stark Road, hopefully. We've got to work with the city on that. Keep trying to grow the company. We've got some new products coming out, a talking tugboat and a spaceship. Again, Hagen, no rest for the brilliant. So we'll keep trying to make this a Mississippi success story. Hagen, if folks don't know, is from Columbus. So It's a Golden Triangle success story. It's a Mississippi State success story. It's a Starkville success story, Columbus success story, Mississippi, and hopefully a national success story.
All right.
So appreciate it. Keep telling good news. That's the best thing you can do, Colin.
Well, as I said, for some reason it left Columbus and came back here to buy the Columbus packet, which just at the time focused on the worst of what Columbus had to offer.
That would have been me. That was me. They were focused on.
And so I got there in 2010, and right away I started a B section because I had the number. Always looked. In some marketing training is look for the objection and see if you can fix it. Well, the objection was I don't want to be next to a cut up bloody head. And when I was there, we did a phenomenal job of covering every car wreck and shooting to the point that I've been shot at twice and watched multiple people die. I'm still getting over the trauma, but I fixed it with Rocky Road. But I started a B section. It was all happy news, and that was our rule. And we would have people leave the A set, like buy the paper, throw away that, and just look at the news. And so when I left, I'm like, I saw the worst of what Mississippi and Columbus have to offer, and if I'm going to stay here, I'm only putting out good news. And God pray for the one person a year when I post something bad on Facebook. I posted my wife, she's not really disabled now, but she had 18 back surgeries, riddled with cancer. So FedEx people contracted it out publicly, like not FedEx drivers, about a year and a half ago. Well, our package kept showing up literally on our porch, down the steps, on the sidewalk, almost to the sidewalk. And somebody, a FedEx person, had gotten fired and got arrested they were setting up packages for somebody to steal. So I posted on FedEx, I was like, it'd be nice if y'all could just blah, blah, blah. Poor FedEx. I still have in my phone 6 numbers, including the director of Memphis FedEx called me. He's like, I don't know who in the Ferris Bueller you are. But he's like, Ferris Bueller where they like save Ferris. He goes, I don't know why a state senator called me to say you're having problems with your package, but I promise you the package will be delivered. I'm like, well, listen, man. I said, I only post good news, and it's probably the only negative post I've posted in 2 years. And I said, people are obviously a little defensive of Uncle Colin, but I like that. I want to be known for that. I think our area's there's plenty of people putting out the bad news. And as I tell you.
Well, that's an important point, though, because all you do is see the good stuff. People put out the bad stuff. It's there if you want it. But if you don't balance that with the good and the potential and all that, then people just, how we are.
Well, bad news will find you. And I'm a big fan of calling somebody who can do something as opposed to posting it. So, like, I've talked to Miss Younger and Trent Kelly about issues that thing. After my daughter paged for Delbert Hoseman, and I talked to him about MSMS and other problems like that. And I said I was the only parent down there for MSMS. And I said there were a lot of people post about it, but when Nora went down there to find out what happened, I took the picture that was on the cover of the dispatch, and then I went over and talked to every single senator, and Chuck Younger and everybody here helped me. But I don't know those guys, but that's how I knew him. Is I was like, hey, I'd like to talk. I'm not from your district. I can't hurt you. I'm not going to give you any money. But, this is.
Well, you've got the intellectual curiosity, and you've got the drive to do good things and to choose to see good things. And I think that's important for all of us, actually, just for your mental health.
It's addictive, too. So, like I said, it's like that feeling you get at Christmas for giving the perfect gift or walking away from giving a big tip at a restaurant or something. That's
a dirty secret. It makes you feel good, right?
Yeah,
that's part of why we do it.
Doug and I at Zachary's, we stand across the street at every event and sit there and go, man, this didn't happen today, and it's beautiful. So, this will be a little housekeeping thing. If, like, in my instinct, and I'm a nerd, a personal growth nerd, if I wanted to take your class online I have to register as a student to take it online and just take one class? Is it available for audit and outsiders? I don't know how it works.
I don't know how that works, but if you ever wanted to come sit in on a class or take the class, we could just not tell anybody, but you'd have to come over it's once a week, every Wednesday from 3:30 to 6:20.
I got all the time in the world. Well, I've been telling people that the busy is not a badge of honor, and people are mistaken to think I'm busy. There's a ton of time in the day. When somebody doesn't call you back, they made that choice not to call you back. And
we would love to have you audit the class or just come in and hang out and watch what these kids do.
Resist racing.
I had like 3 football players last semester, and that was pretty interesting.
We had a football player. We don't do rentals on my property, but there's a realtor I know, and there's a defensive back renting a place for $3,500 a month. And I guess he's one of the. I know Mississippi State doesn't have a ton of NIL money, but I called my friend up at Ole Miss, and I'm like, "Are y'all selling houses?" And they're like, "Oh, absolutely. We're talking to agents all the time."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "But the kids are there for 1 year." He's like, "They just want a house." And I'm like, and he's like, "There's kids writing, I think Ole Miss has 5 or 6 guys over $1 million. I got a kicker making $400,000 a year, so I still have 3 years of eligibility left.
Yeah, me too. I've got 4. I'm ready. Put me in, Coach.
All right. Thanks again for coming today, Jay.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no-pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.